Alright. So, the runners are playing out Japanese, which saves 3 minutes RTA over English just from the text. It actually loses half a second in-game time with an enemy placement that I'll point out a little later in the run. I believe it's about an hour and 10 minutes in. So the first major reset point in this run is the climb, which looks like both runners pull off pretty flawlessly. That little room is pretty difficult to pull off optimally. But once you get it a couple of times, it becomes a lot easier. It's one of those things that once you get it once, it just becomes really easy. So pretty much the entire objective of this game is to run around, do missions for the computer. We were just sent off on a mission to kill the one singular enemy in that room after investigating what happened in there because there was an explosion. And then now we come all the way back, have him explain what that enemy was, which are the X. And then now we have a new mission to go get missiles. So this entire game is more or less just a fetch quest. So Eagle right now is the current tied any percent world record holder with a 45 in-game time. And he has a 105 in-game time 100%, which is not the world record, but only a minute off. And generally, he's a very consistent runner. I believe all of his tournament times thus far have been separated by max 2 minutes. He's very, very, very consistent. On the other hand, we have Herc, who has a 108 in-game time, I believe. So slightly worse, but not bad at all. He's a little bit less consistent, I would say, but he's still very, very good at the game. Both runners having a pretty clean start to pick up missiles. So in the next room for Eagle and for Herc, there is an enemy called an Idor, and Idors are pretty much RNG. It can shoot anywhere from 0 to 4 beams, and then it has a weak spot where you can shoot missiles at it. And sometimes, if you set it up right, like Eagle just did, you can get a double, which will save a round. Looks like Herc is getting really bad RNG and misses both doubles. Eagle, I believe, had a 4 beam or a 5 beam. I think Herc had like a 7 or 8 beam. So already we can see RNG making a huge difference. Eagle pulling ahead by a solid 10 to 12 seconds already. And so Arachnus has a pattern attack where he can roll at you, which is also RNG. Sometimes he just won't roll. Morph Ball, Core. Okay, so Core X's have a period of invulnerability after you hit them that lasts for 3 seconds. But if you have it run into 2 missiles at the same time, you can actually skip one of the invulnerability phases and deal double damage. So you'll be seeing the runners do that a lot throughout the run, pretty much on every Core X. There is one Core X in the game that it's pretty much impossible to get it on. Cass barely gets it. And I'm not sure if a human has ever gotten it, RTA. But now that we have Morph Ball, it opens up a lot of passageways that we were unable to go in before. We'll be seeing it used to pick up multiple items throughout the run, and also just for general movement. Unlike Super Metroid, there's no tricks like Mach Ball, so you can't get like an extra speed boost to break things. This game is generally very solid. There's no sequence breaks at all. So this run is fairly movement and RNG based. Although the RNG doesn't really matter until you, I guess, are going for a top time. It's mostly just movement. So now we'll be heading off to Sector 1. Sector 1's missile management is pretty key. This is the only part of 100% that your ammo count really matters. After this, we use, like, for every single situation, we have so many missiles that we can pretty much just spam them wherever we want. But in this first area, it is quite tight. So the entire objective of this first sector is to clear out 5 reactors that have been infected by the X. So we have to go run around, kill them, and also make a little detour to pick up one of the most broken abilities in this game, the Charge Beam. I'll explain that whenever we pick it up. Looks like both of our racers have a pretty good missile count. So we shouldn't see many issues unless one of them makes a catastrophic mistake. So it looks like both Eagle and Herc had a pretty clean Sector 1, which is always a good thing to see. You could definitely lose a lot of time in this sector just from having poor movement or poor missile management. Looks like Eagle, again, getting pretty bad Idle RNG. Looks like he got 5 beams with the double. Looks like Herc got 0 beams with the double. So this is the first instance of an I core. These cores will give you beams, and as you just saw, you can double them, like Eagle just did. He got both doubles, which is actually I would say a lot harder than doing it on a normal core, and Herc getting 1. You have to sync both missiles up so that they hit on the same frame. So now we have Charge Beam, which is really broken. There are 3 parts to the Charge Beam shot. There are 2 parts of the actual shot, each doing 10 damage. And then there's a little flare that comes off of Samus's arm cannon that does an extra 6 damage. So altogether that does 26 damage. And with that, we can kill enemies and bosses extremely fast. We'll be seeing one of those cases in about 13 minutes. But another thing that Charge Beam can do is if you run through a door transition with B held down, and then you let go of B in the middle of the door transition, you actually release a Charge Beam shot on the first frame that you run out of the room, or run out of the door, which can be useful in a lot of different places. Another general thing that Charge Beam can do is if you have a Charge Beam shot held and you just do a spin jump into an enemy, it'll actually kill it, or at least do a lot of damage with what's called a pseudo screw. It's not as useful in this game as it is in Zero Mission, but it's still used quite a bit throughout the run. So now, both racers are heading off to Sector 2. This is, in any percent, one of the scariest parts of the run. In Sector 2, at this point, in the 80% route, you have 1 energy tank. And a lot of the enemies in here deal a lot of damage. Some of the most common ones, I believe, do 45 or something like that, which is a lot of damage at this point in the game. And then there are other enemies in here that do a lot more than that. Fortunately, in 100%, we already have 3 tanks at this point, and we'll be picking up a 4th one here about halfway through. So there's pretty much no risk of dying until the very end of the sector, which there's a trick that I'll point out whenever we get to it. I don't think either runner will be going for it, but... well, at least Eagle will not be. I don't think Eagle's gone for it once. But Herc certainly has. And he's lost a couple of races to dying to it. So our first objective here is to unlock security level 1, and since it's a security, we can't be told where it is, but it's pretty easy to figure out. So Eagle and Herc have just unlocked it. So now they'll be heading off to pick up the next major upgrade, which is bombs. Bombs in this game are severely nerfed as compared to Super Metroid. They have a smaller blast radius. They take longer to explode. So infinite bomb jumping is out of the picture. So just another way that the developers of this game have just kind of removed sequence breaking. Eagle's so far looking to have a pretty clean run, outside of the fact that he's had pretty bad RNG with the outdoors. I haven't seen him make make too many major mistakes. Same with Herc. He's just also had very bad idle RNG. I believe he got 5 beams on the first door, and then luckily he had 0 on the second one, but still probably 10 seconds or so behind. So what Eagle just did is a little, like, bomb animation skip. Since bombs take so long to explode, we're able to pick up this missile. Well, we're able to lay down a bomb, pick up that missile, and then climb back up. And then get through that block before it respawns, which saves just a little bit of time. Eagle got it pretty cleanly, but Herc messed it up. It doesn't save that much time, but it's just a nice little, you know, like 2-second time saver to go for. So up next we have one of the most, if not the most, RNG heavy boss. So this boss, Zazabi, can jump on his first phase anywhere from 0 to 3 times, second phase 1 to 4, or third phase 2 to 5. So you can get anywhere from 3 jumps to 12 jumps. And each jump, I would say, is 3-ish seconds, maybe 2. So a lot of time can be saved compared to someone getting a 3 jump or a 12 jump. Looks like Herc had a not very good first phase. Eagle's having just an average. Maybe a little worse than average Zazabi. Herc's Zazabi was not very good. I believe it was about the same, if not 1 or 2 jumps worse than Eagle's. I think they're about 12 seconds apart, maybe 14. So what you just saw on Herc's screen is actually called a sweet spot, where if you kill the Korax either near where the actual item spawns or right on it, it'll just let you pick it up much earlier. So it's a little bit of a time saver. It's not too difficult though. Eagle's going for it, and he gets it. So that was SAX skip. It's about a 10 to 15 second time saver that you could do, but oh, Herc's also going for it, and gets it just fine. So that strat is pretty difficult. It's pretty inconsistent as well, and if you mess it up, there is a very high chance that you will die or live with 1 health. If you do it perfectly, though, you'll end up with the amount of health that both racers have. Eagle actually morphed after getting hit. So he actually does a strat that Paulsmore invented. Paulsmore is another very good runner of this game. Plays on keyboard, so that's kind of cool. If you morph while doing SAX skip, you can actually jump over an ice beam shot if you mess it up a little bit. Hercules does not go for that strat, so if he would have messed that up, then he probably would have died, or he would have had to land a very tight jump. But both runners got through it very cleanly. So next is Sector 4, which is a water area. The water in this area is actually electrified, and does quite a bit of damage if you stay in it for too long. But we only are in it for a couple of seconds, so it's not that big of a deal. But here we have to figure out where this giant fish snake thing went. with speed boosting capabilities. This area is probably one of my favorites in the game. It's just really chill. It's not a very hard area either. You just kind of get in, get out. In 100%, we have to take a bit of a detour here to pick up an energy tank. It's pretty far out of the way, actually. And with that E-tank, we've pretty much eliminated all chance of dying. So at this point, we should see a finished run from both runners, barring a power outage or something. So on Eagle's screen is one of probably the hardest movement rooms to pull off very cleanly, but it's really nice whenever you do it well. Looks like Eagle had a fairly clean run. At the end he got tripped up a little bit by enemies, but it wasn't bad. See if Herc can have a similar outcome. That was really clean from Herc. So that was the enemy that we're supposed to look for. It was like dead, but like I wonder if this giant pulsing eye door will tell us where it might have been. Oh, guess it's there. So this boss is where Charge Beam is really broken. If you set it up right, you can actually kill this boss in 2 hits. I believe it's intended to kill it in 5, but it saves a lot of time. Also, Eagle getting not very good patterns, but he does get the 2-hit. Herc having a much faster first phase. Just from that first phase alone, Herc has cut down the lead by down to about 5 seconds. So now the last thing that we have to do here is just lower the water levels. So that one, it'll stop the water from being electrified, and also allow us to get out of here. So there's actually a trick that you can do called a low height shine spark. So when you do a shine spark, just off of the ground, you have a set height, which is actually really high for some reason. But if you are able to start a shine spark just above the ground, you actually start out much lower. And that can actually save a lot of time in some spaces. In any percent, you could do it there, just a couple of rooms back, and it would save quite a bit of time. But in 100%, there's a missile pack that we have to pick up on the way, so it is about equal. If not, it loses a bit of time. So now both are done with Sector 4. They'll be heading out to Sector 3, finally, to pick up super missiles, as well as unlock security level 2 doors. This race is still very close. So, if Eagle makes a solid 10 to 15 second mistake, Herc could for sure be in the lead. Or if Herc just gets better RNG. Now it looks like the lead is definitely closed up again. Looks like they're about 4 seconds apart, maybe 5. So now both have unlocked security level 2 doors. So any blue and green door can now be opened. Now they'll be heading off to pick up super missiles, as well as paying a visit to probably the hardest missile pack to skip. It's actually not until, I believe, 2 years. So now both runners are heading out to Sector 6. So in this sector, there are blue ice hex that do, I believe, 70 damage. So they can deal a lot of damage really quickly if you get kind of tag teamed by them. But it seems that I actually cut out while I was explaining the really hard missile skip. So I guess I'll kind of finish up my explanation on that. So there is a 5 Shine Spark trick that has like 7 frames of error, roughly, to skip that missile. I believe 6 people had pulled it off RTA ever. Maybe 5. But just, I believe 2 years ago, there was a version exclusive English glitch that was found to actually go out of bounds using respawning blocks. So you could skip that missile using that method. It's still a frame perfect trick, but it's much, much, much easier and much faster. So here we have another SAX chase sequence. This one's a lot less scary. There's pretty much no way you're gonna die doing this. Eagle gets it just fine. I'm assuming Herc will get it just fine too. As he does. As I said, that SAX sequence is not hard at all. Looks like Eagle yet again having poor Idor RNG. Getting 3 beams. So here is the next boss, Megacore X. This boss only takes damage from Charge Beam. And if you set it up just right, you could kill it in 4 shots. Yet again, Charge Beam showing off its capabilities of doing massive damage. So, with each missile upgrade, doing doubles on each core becomes slightly harder because the cooldown in between firing missiles and the speed of missiles, the cooldown of firing missiles increases, and the speed of the missiles fired increases. So timing doubles gets a little bit harder for each missile upgrade, and by the time you have the final missile upgrade, it's pretty rare that you see more than 1 double. And from some runners, it's rare if you even see 1 at all. Looks like Eagle's stream is having a bit of pausing issues. His internet does not seem to be holding up the greatest. Herc having a pretty rough puffer pattern in there. So here you see Herc actually laying down a bomb as he's leaving. He also did it on the way in, but I didn't catch it. It since bombs explode off screen, you're able to just lay a bomb and then walk away from it, and that allows us to grab a missile on the way out here, and it allows us to grab an energy tank a lot later in the run. Oh, looks like Eagle's stream is back now. So it looks like he's still ahead by solid 10 seconds or so. And dropping frames again. Alright, so now they're heading off to Sector 5. They have the Various suit now, which allows them to have protection from both hot and cold. So they're finally able to visit certain areas of Sector 3, which we'll be going back to in a little bit, and all of Sector 5.
Emergency in Sector 3. Emergency in Sector 3. Emergency in Sector 3. Minute to main boiler explosion.
Alright, I should be back now. I don't know why this keeps happening. But we have a section now with red flashing lights and a timer. And that's not very good. So this section is really movement heavy. It's very, very, very easy to lose upwards of 10 seconds just from 1 or 2 movement mistakes. Feagle gets good RNG and both doubles on the core, and he does get good RNG. If he gets both doubles on the core, he'll get a very, very, very good time. Wow. He's gonna get a 434, which is really good. I believe the best ever time is a mid 437. So that's pretty ridiculous. So now we have Wide Beam, which is even more overpowered than Charge Beam. It does 45 damage without the flare, which is ridiculous, compared to Charge Beam's 26 with it. And it also has a wider range, which is very useful. And it's also purple. So now that the meltdown is over, we're gonna head off to the main deck, actually, for the first time in about 40 minutes. Alright, so both races are heading back to the main deck after that meltdown sequence, and we're gonna try and figure out what kind of caused it. As well as the computer has detected a life form on the main deck, so we have to go investigate it. Alright. So now they are heading back to the Sector 5 data room just to pick up power bombs. And they'll be leaving Sector 2 just like right after. Looks like Herc has closed up the gap just a little bit. Not sure if I can be heard right now, but Hercules actually messed that up just a little bit. If you place a power bomb just high enough, you can actually only use one power bomb in that room, but for whatever reason, that window is extremely tight. So, most of the time, you'll have to use two. I believe Eagle got in one. Also, pulling off that room pretty much flawlessly. See if Herc can do the same coming up. And so, as soon as we're in Sector 5, we are leaving to yet again head off to the main deck. Herc actually getting not the greatest there. Froze the turtle a little bit too early, but actually clutched it out with a frame perfect jump off that crumble block. on the way back up to the main deck, the what is it? The elevator breaks down. So we're forced to take a bit of an alternate path and say hi to an old friend. And now he's dead. And now, after going through like 3 rooms, we're back to the normal main deck. Eagle's placing power bomb there to kind of blow those power bomb blocks up during the door transition, and we'll be using those in a couple of seconds here. Now we have to talk to our ship. Yeah, the animals ended up on our ship. Don't ask how they fit on there with Samus. But basically what happened is all the power in the ship went out. The main reactor core, which Eagle just passed by, just completely shut off. So now we have to kind of figure out what's causing the problem and then solve it. So coming up, we have Yakuza, the six-legged spider. It lost the first 2. We don't really know where, but it's a 6-legged spider. This boss can give you anywhere. It can crawl around the room anywhere from 1 to 4 times. And I really hope that both runners get a 4-round Yakuza. No fun. Eagle getting a 1 round. So actually a pretty recent development that both Scotty, one of the world record holders for 100% with a 104 in game time, and Eagle, just I believe yesterday or so, really worked to try and get doubles on the second phase of Yakuza consistent. And I'm not sure if Eagle did them right there, but I know for a fact that Scotty does them. See if Herc gets a 1 round as well, and he doesn't. More fun. Yes. Yes, maximum fun achieved. Herc having a pretty clean second phase. But from Yakuza, we get Space Jump and not Spider Ball. Because that makes sense. I would say at this point, though, that Eagle is definitely pulling pretty far ahead. So now we are in, I guess, the second boss of the mini boss rush, I guess. This one's Notori. This boss is really easy and 100%. You pretty much just stand there and spam missiles. And whenever it gets to his second phase, you either crouch or jump over the shots that it shoots at you and keep spamming missiles. It's really easy. Eagle actually getting both doubles on that core and a sweet spot. So a very solid fight from him. So now we have Plasma Beam, which, rather than doing 45 damage without a flare, it'll actually do 27, but it does damage per frame. So if it's an enemy that has a large hitbox, it will completely shred it. But it's actually a little bit of a disadvantage if it's an enemy with a small hitbox. Which actually the next boss is one of those bosses, or enemies with a small amount. Alright, so now that we have Plasma Beam, we are gonna head off to Sector 5 yet again. So in total we went from Sector 5 to Sector 3 to the main deck, back to Sector 5 to back to main deck, then to Sector 2, and then back to Sector 5. But thankfully this is the last time we'll be seeing it. Until in about a half hour we'll be back there though. For about a minute. But this time, some enemy that's a pretty big nightmare actually. It's pretty scary. Kinda got loose and is now destroying the entire place. So we need to go stop it. We'll see if Eagle goes for the Nightmare Space Boost. And he doesn't. SMH. So, Nightmare Space Boost is a trick that only Pulsmar goes for. And instead of doing a Nightmare Shine Spark, you are able to go through 6 rooms rather than 5. And there's also no startup or bonk animation. So it saves quite a bit of time, actually. But the only downside is that it's really hard. Because of the broken door mechanic that we see, in order to actually go through broken doors and keep a space boost, is to have upwards momentum. And sometimes that can be really difficult to time your space jumps just right to have upwards momentum. We'll see if Hurt goes for it. And he also does not. The Shine Spark is much easier, but it does lose a bit of time without rather than going for the space boost. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's a high risk, pretty much a low reward thing. So on Eagle's screen, we have a real nightmare of a boss. This one is pretty easy and 100%, as pretty much all bosses are. But in any other category, this boss fight is pretty difficult, actually. This one can do a lot of damage to you really fast, and has definitely killed a lot of people doing other categories. So this boss is pretty much just luring it into the right place and then just spamming missiles into its face. So it's a pretty simple fight, but it does a lot of damage really fast. Eagle getting a triple-double on the core and a sweet spot. That was a really good fight. So now we have Gravity Suit, which not only rids us of that awful, disgusting mustard suit, but it also makes it so that any liquid is basically just like walking through normal air. And it also makes it so that lava and acid and stuff does no damage to us. Well, not acid, but lava. So now that Nightmare is dead and we have Gravity Suit, we can actually traverse some new areas of, especially Sector 4, which we're in right now. And this is a bit of an underwater section. Here is one of the worst rooms in the entire game. There's a ton of crab enemies that will shoot things at you. But looks like Eagle had a pretty clean run through it. This underwater portion of the run is one of my favorite parts. It's just really relaxing and almost mysterious as well, the music. So now we have security level 4 doors unlocked. Just kind of out of the blue. Just a little random thing that they kind of decided to throw in. And so at this point, I would definitely say that Eagle has built up enough of a lead that, barring some huge mistakes during cleanup or him forgetting an item, pretty sure he's got this one in the bag. But there is a lot of time to be lost in cleanup. But Eagle is generally very consistent, so we'll see what happens. Coming up, there's a pretty difficult Shine Store strat. Eagle's about to do it right here. See if he can pull it off. Looks like he got the first Shine Spark just fine. And got the second one just fine. That strat is pretty difficult, I would say. I struggle with it a lot, certainly. And I do an easier version where I only do one shine charge. So, it's definitely not an easy strat. But now, Eagle's about to pick up the final missile upgrade, the fusion missiles. So diffusion missiles are basically a charge shot for your missiles. And whenever you shoot a missile that's been charged up, it has an area of effect freezing thing, as you can see right there. And actually that enemy placement is the spot where English saves half a second in-game time over Japanese. That enemy is a little bit farther to the left on Japanese, which not only makes it so that an alternate method of secret message is possible, where you can just curve a missile and freeze that enemy, but it makes it so you actually have to wait for the diffusion effect to hit it, rather than in English where you could just kind of shoot the missile and then just instantly run at it. So the 3 second, or the half a second in-game time loss is definitely worth it for the 3-minute RTA time save. This game is not nearly optimized enough for that half a second to matter. But now, since we have our final missile upgrade, diffusion missiles, it makes doubling cores a lot harder. For whatever reason, the changes from normal missiles to like super missiles and ice missiles aren't nearly as difficult as the change from ice missiles to diffusion missiles. Both of these runners are very top tier, so I would say I would be surprised if we don't see a single double. But for some little bit lower tier runners, it could definitely be very difficult for them to hit one double. But now we have to head back to Sector 6 to deal with the security robot that we fought in Sector 3 about 40 minutes ago, but this time it got infected by the X. And is causing havoc here now. So we have to come take care of it, as well as finally using that little passage that we made about 40 minutes ago to pick up the Z-Tank. Okay, so now that we've kind of reached an area that says we're not authorized to go in it, now we can go back up and we can fight Xbox. This fight recently also has some strat reworkings. Along with, there's just been a major revolution with any percent easy recently. So, any percent easy has had, actually Eagle get a 44 in-game time in it. So, he has that record currently untied. Meanwhile, Rasu123, who was actually in the chat just a little bit ago, I believe he left, though, now, he has a 45:01 in-game time. So he's really close. But just a couple of days ago, both them and Scotty actually did some massive boss reworking for any percent easy. Finding new ways to kill Box 1 and Xbox very fast, as well as working on Yakuza doubles. But now that we've killed Xbox, we have Wave Beam, which is the exact same as Plasma Beam, except it looks cooler, it can go through walls, and it has, I believe, a slightly wider hitbox. It has no damage increase or anything.
No entry without
But now we finally see Metroids. And this is the only Metroids we will see until the very end of the game.
Warning. No entry without authorization. Warning.
Also, yeah, that whole chunk of the space station is just kind of gone now. So, the SCX and all of those Metroids are dead. Also, this is the second to last text box in the game. After this point, we won't have text for the next 25 or so minutes. So, definitely keep your eyes peeled. We'll have no breaks in gameplay from here on out. Well, we'll have very, very few breaks in gameplay from here on out until the final major text sequence.
Entry without authorization. Warning.
Meanwhile, Herc is
Authorization.
just finished up Xbox. According to someone in the chat, he had a pretty nice fight.
Authorization.
He'll be heading off to the restricted sector just as Scotty are leaving. Just as Eagle is leaving. Meanwhile, Eagle is now back in a different part of Sector 1.
Fire alert. This sector will soon be locked down. 60 seconds.
So, fun fact, that X that just spawned into that little ceiling enemy can actually just not spawn into that enemy. So, sometimes you just kind of get super unlucky and you just have to reload the room. So these gold pirates that we already saw one on Eagle screen and we're about to see two more. You're supposed to not, be shooting at their backs, but the game devs kind of messed up. So all you have to do is just not be facing the same direction. So all you have to do is just shoot a charge shot at them and then turn around, and it'll damage them. Also, everyone max out your volume, please. Okay, well, apparently Herc is streaming, or Herc's audio is live, instead of Eagle's. Okay, so we'll have to wait like a minute or two. But, anyways, that was Ridley. Yeah. It's a pretty easy fight. So, the wave beam does damage per frame. And the diagonal of the square is longer than the side. And Ridley's hitbox is a square. So you can shoot the charging shot through his diagonal, and it does a lot of damage really fast. Makes that fight extremely easy. Also, I believe Double got... my brain is not functioning right now. Anyways, Eagle got one double, I believe. Also, here's Herc's go at it. Herc had a pretty clean fight. See how many doubles he can get. Also, Scotty, oh my god! I keep reading the chat, and then I keep saying names that I'm reading in the chat. Anyways, Eagle is in Sector 1 cleanup. Scotty, oh my... You know... Anyways... Eagle is in cleanup, and so is Herc now. This is basically 20 minutes of uninterrupted movement. There's no text in this part of the run. And it's pretty much just running around picking up items now that we have, because we have all the upgrades. We just run around, pick up all the items that we weren't able to before. Okay, so you're actually able to pick up a lot of these items during cleanup a lot earlier, but a lot of them are just really slow to pick up. So we just kind of wait until the end and just kind of do it all at the end and just circle around all the sectors. So thankfully there's actually a little like passageway to travel in between the sectors really quickly without having to go up in like the sector like selection area, I guess you could say. So Eagle's just about done with Sector 1 cleanup, and he'll be moving out to Sector 3. Ooh. Ah. Looks like Herc messed up that Shine Spark, which uses a lot of time. So now Eagle's in Sector 3. This sector is still... Sectors 1 and 3 are pretty easy. There are a couple things in Sector 3 that are decently difficult, but nothing that's ridiculous. See if he can get Swag Bomb Jump, and he does. So that's one of 2 locations that bomb jumps are useful after Sector 2. There's a strat in Sector 6, right after getting Varia, that you can do a very I'm smart. You do a very tight bomb jump. Saves like 4 seconds maybe, but it's really difficult. But right there, you only do it there, so because you don't have to grab the ledge, and whenever a power bomb is going off, the screen shakes. So grabbing the ledge is not possible, I guess. Which makes sense, but it's just really stupid. But that bomb jump just makes it so we can get up there just a little bit faster. So, Scotty on the right, aka Herc, just finished up with Sector 1. He'll be kind of converging with Eagle left Scotty in Sector 3 here. So, Eagle is pretty much done with Sector 3 cleanup at this point. He'll be heading off to Sector 5. Meanwhile, Herc is about to, I guess, get to the big room in Sector 3. At this point, I would say Eagle is probably 2 to 2.5 minutes ahead. So now Eagle is in Sector 5, which is the second shortest sector to clean up. It's about a minute and 10 seconds to get all 5 items here that we need. So now Herc is pretty much done with Sector 3. He'll be climbing up the long shaft and then just kind of going around in a circle to get out. Meanwhile, Eagle is now done with Sector 5 cleanup. He'll be heading into Sector 6 cleanup, which is the hardest cleanup by far. There are many space boost strats in here that save a lot of time, but they're very difficult, and some of them are very punishing if you miss them. Looks like he'll get this first one just fine. Yep. Alright. Herc is just entering Sector 5. Meanwhile, Eagle is going extremely far out of his way to pick up the one item in the restricted sector. Now, we have to make sure that we don't shine spark up here, because if we do, and we end up where we were right after the restricted sector kind of blew up and fell off. And if we do that, then we end up getting locked into the final text thing, which means that we have to go all the way around through the sectors to pick up, we have to go all the way back around through the main deck to get back to Sector 6, which is really, really bad. So now Eagle's coming up on a frame-perfect power bomb. There is this power bomb right here. Requires either a frame-perfect spring ball jump off of a crumble block, or as you can see, a frame-perfect jump off of the crumble block into a space jump to grab the ledge. See if Herc can get the space boost. Looks like he'll just be just fine. Yep. That's good. Hopefully we'll see no major space boost mistakes. Wow. Eagle getting that space boost, which is pretty hard. It saves pretty much no time. But it's just kind of a swag thing. Still have to shine spark in order to get out, so you have to activate all the horizontal pillars. But Eagle is pretty much out of Sector 6 cleanup. He has one final item to pick up, which is right here. It's pretty clean, so I would say at this point, Eagle has pretty much got this one sealed. There's really no places left to lose multiple minutes. So now, Eagle's in Sector 4, which has no items to pick up for us. We already got them all earlier throughout the run, so we just kind of use it to get through it to get to Sector 2, which is our final sector to clean up. And after cleaning up this area, we'll have one power-up left to pick up, and that's on the main deck. So this room is called Crumble City because there is a lot of crumble blocks, and actually one of our runners in the tournament, Phazonite, actually loves this room. He's a huge fan of crumble blocks. You should really talk to him about it sometime. He absolutely loves them. Looks as if Herc is opting for a bit of a safer strat there. It is possible to mess up that space boost going into that room and lose a buttload of time. Seems as if both racers had a fairly clean Sector 6 though, which is always great to see. Sector 6 cleanup is probably the hardest part of the run for a lot of people. Eagle having a bit of a slip up in that room. Not a huge deal though. Seems as if both racers are actually fairly close to their PBs. Herc might actually be ahead after this split. And I'm pretty sure he is. That's pretty awesome to see. I believe Eagle is about a minute or so behind. I'm not sure though. But now both racers are in Sector 2 cleanup. Scotty, oh my lord. Left Scotty is about 3 power-ups left to pick up. That'd be 2 missiles and 1 power bomb. Or 2 power bombs, 1 missile. This is the Swag Spark room. If you let the demo play out, it'll show you a little clip of this room. So right there, you can actually store a Shine Spark on those crumble blocks, and actually Eagle pulls it off perfectly. But if you have a pretty optimal fall there, you could just kind of fall down and use that Shine Spark to break those speed booster blocks, which makes getting that missile a lot faster. So now Eagle has one pickup left to get. And Herc still has a decent chunk of Sector 2 to go through. So now Eagle is done with Sector 2 cleanup. We'll be heading out to pick up the final power bomb, which is on the main deck, and then talking to the computer for one last time, and then going off to finish the race. And with that, Eagle should have 100%. He does have all missiles and all E-tanks, but not sure about power bombs. The maximum for all items in this game is 20 E-tanks, 250 missiles, and 74 power bombs. So now we have a solid amount of text. So if you need to take a short break, I would do it now. Meanwhile, during this time, you can watch Herc, and I'm going to pull up the speed gaming schedule to kind of see what we have on after this race. So it looks like after this race we have ALTCP randomizer going on Speed Gaming 1. And then looks like we're taking about an hour break from Speed Gaming 2 after this one. Then we'll be heading on to ALTTP randomizers starting about an hour after this race finishes. And yeah, Speed Gaming 1 will have ALTTP randomizer, and then after that, some Earthbound. So now, Eagle is out of the text, being given one final order by the computer, aka Adam, to go set the ship on a self-destruct course in order to kill all of the X. And so now we have one last SAX fight. We could just do a diagonal stun block or a horizontal one. Diagonal one is a little bit faster. Here's the second phase, which takes 2 shots to kill. If you do it right. But Eagle took 3. Then here we'll see if we can get a triple-double on this core. Does not look like it. He gets 1 double. So that core is probably the hardest to double in the entire game. Getting 1 double on that is pretty awesome. But yeah, Herc should have 100% now as well. So now we have our final kind of escape sequence from the ship. Meanwhile, Herc is in the final text box / monologue. Coming up is the, I guess, final trick of the run. Does not look like he got low height. There's one low height shine spark that you could do there that saves a bit of time. You could just shine spark through this entire room rather than bonking right there. But here's the actual final boss, the Omega Metroid. There's one, I guess, final trick that we could do on it, by using a stun lock. See if Eagle can pull it off. If he does, he'll get a very solid time. Only being about maybe 45 to 50 seconds off his PB. Ah. Looks like messing it up just a little bit, but got it pretty quickly afterwards, but unfortunately, it's a little bit worse than we expected. But looks like Eagle's gonna probably get a 106 in game time in his PB. Oh yeah, 106 in game time with 100%. Not a bad run at all. So Eagle takes the win with a 140-19 RTA. He'll be moving on to face Scotty. So we'll have left Scotty versus real Scotty next round. The loser of that will go on to play against me in the bronze medal match. And the winner will play Paulsmore in the finals. So GG's to Eagle. I'm not sure if he wants to join for an interview.
Propulsion sequence activated.
Now Herc has set the what is it? Herc has set off the self-destruct course. Alright, does not look like Herc got the low height either, but fortunately Eagle does not want to do an interview, but I don't blame him. It's pretty late wherever he is. Pretty sure he's in Sweden. Not 100% sure. Let's see if Herc can get the what is it? Oh, he went for the upwards strat. It's a bit harder, you have to mash faster, but he does get the diagonal strat as a backup. So Herc is also going to get a very solid time. He might PB RTA. Just barely. GG's. Not sure if he wants to join for an interview either. But very solid time from both racers. So again, Eagle will be moving on to face Scotty in the next round of bracket. That'll be semis. Winner of that race will play Paulsmore in finals. The loser of that race will actually drop down to the bronze medal match and play against me for 3rd and 4th place. So again, we have ALTTP randomizer starting up on speed gaming in about 8 minutes. And we're taking about an hour break here on Speed Gaming 2, but starting at about 9 p.m. EST, we'll have a race over on Speed Gaming 2 for ALTTP Randomizer as well. Third and fourth place. And then starting at 10:30 EST on Speed Gaming 1, we'll have Earthbound Boogie Percent. So yeah, Eagle gets a solid 106. Also, it's like Herc is in the voice channel now. Not sure if he's trying to speak. Just waiting for Herc's credits to scroll through to show that he has 100%. Herc does have 100% and gets a 108, so tying his in-game time PB. Very nice job from both racers. So I'm not sure if Herc wants to add any words in the voice channel.
Meh.
And I guess with those parting words,
Dude, I'm still like, I played out of my mind that race. Just laser focused, like from start to finish.
yeah.
Oof. All right, now to route Samus Returns.
Woo!
My night is not over.
Alright, so again, ALTTP Randomizer starting up on Speed Gaming 1 in just a couple of minutes. And then in about an hour, same thing on Speed Gaming 2. So I'm not sure when the next Fusion 100% race is scheduled, but there will definitely be more in the near future. So definitely tune into those. And yeah, thanks for watching, and GG to both racers.